All right, we ready to go?
Ready to go.
Good to go.
Okay, here we go. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Wednesday, May 20th, 2020 Design Review Commission meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Krelling.
Here.
Commissioner Gorney.
Here.
Commissioner Valia.
Here.
Vice Chair Case.
Here.
And Chair Killian.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. All right, this meeting is by teleconference only. This meeting will be conducted pursuant to the provisions of the governor's executive order, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. Teleconference locations are not open to the public. To provide a live remote public comment, join the Zoom teleconference meeting. The meeting ID and passwords are, the ID is 917-5759-1079. The password is 210338. When we have public comments, we'll open it up. And if you'd like to participate, use the raise hand feature, which will alert the staff that you have a comment. Wait your turn, and once you're brought into the meeting, please state your name for the record. And the public, you will have 3 minutes to make your remarks. So moving on to the consent calendar. Tonight, we have no items on the consent calendar.
That's correct.
Item number 3 is the public communication. This portion of the meeting is reserved for comments for items that are not on tonight's agenda. So does anybody have any comments for something that's not on tonight's agenda?
And Mr. Chair, I will also add that there is a slight delay between our feed and those folks watching at home on TV or streaming as well. So we will take that into account, and we'll give folks the opportunity to get the ID and password taken care of and join the meeting if they would like.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question when you get a chance. I don't remember how to do the raise hand feature.
Okay, I will tell you that in just a moment. Christine, there were no people from the public wishing to chime in. Excuse me.
As far as the commission meetings, we're all talking. I think we probably can just, as we normally do, rather than going through the raise hand issue. Isn't that mainly for the public that would like to join in so that we know they would like to participate?
No, it's both. So anyone on the panel here on the commission can also use the raised hand to indicate that they would like to speak if they would like to do so. And Commissioner Gorney, just for your information, at the very bottom of the screen.
Yes.
You have a laptop or a
No,
computer?
I'm on a regular iMac. Well, I don't see anything in the. Oh, there it is. Raise hand. Okay, you got to open up the participants list on the right. Okay, got it. I remember there was a trick. Got it.
Okay, are we ready to keep going?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to go to item number 4, which is a public hearing. Tonight we have one item. It's the Target store stockroom expansion. It is application number Y19-122. Is there a staff report?
Yes, give me a minute to load the presentation and then we'll begin. Okay, good evening, commissioners. For the record, my name is Simmer Gill. I'm an assistant planner with the city of Walnut Creek, and we are here tonight to discuss the stockroom expansion for the existing Target store located at 1871 North Main Street. Design review application number Y19-122. And this project was heard before this commission on January 22nd of this year. The Design Review Commission did have some comments to the previous submittal. So in the next few slides, I'll just go over, I'll basically reintroduce the project and then go over the changes that have occurred since you've last saw this project. Oh, and for the record, the applicants, Jay Richardson, Corey Cameron, Neo Tran, and John Dietrich are here tonight and will be available to answer any questions after the presentation, as am I. Okay, let's start with the, just to orient us with the site. The existing Target store is located at the corner of Ignacio Valley Road and North Main Street. The site can be accessed from North Main Street and Lacassie Avenue. The surrounding area consists of office and retail uses, and residential and gas station uses are located to the west. And just to quickly go over the project again, the 9,897 square foot stockroom expansion will be located along the east elevation of the store and extend the corner wall of the south elevation. And here is a rendering of the proposed expansion. And here is the area where they will be removing the 9 redwood trees along with the other trees that are undersized and 29 parking stalls. The project also includes new landscaping and trees and new concrete pathway and relocation of existing site lighting. No exterior changes are proposed to any of the other building elevations. And since the last DRC hearing, there have been some changes to the location of the C3 bioretention basins, as the previous plans did not properly show the 20-foot wide PG&E easement that runs diagonally across the site and through the proposed C3 basins, which you can see here. In order to avoid any improvements within this easement, one of the bioretention basin areas has been relocated to the North Main Street side of the parking lot, which you can see here. I've included a photograph of that location. And this, the 5 parking stalls in this area will also be removed, but we will discuss that later in the presentation. Additionally, in the last DRC meeting, there was discussion about narrowing the walkway width to increase landscaping along the front of the addition here. However, when Target was constructed in 1998, the city's general plan policy encouraged the creation of a 10-foot walkway, which we see here. Here's a photograph, the existing walkway that's currently at Target. It allows, it's like acts as a means of pedestrian access connecting from BART to the downtown across the Target site. So per staff direction, the proposed expansion maintains the 10-foot walkway for the length of this project. And at the previous hearing, the DRC expressed general support of the project expansion and tree removals, with some changes requested to the building height and to coordinate the tree placement and stairs with the architectural details, and additional landscaping was required for the site. The applicant was requested to return to DRC with revised plans, and in the next few slides, I will go over how the applicant has addressed the following comments. And here's the previous design that the DRC saw on January 22nd, and here's the revised rendering, where per DRC's suggestion, the applicant has now coordinated the landscaping and fire exiting stairs with the architecture. And the project plans have added details and sections to illustrate how the emergency exit stairs and the architectural fins will be tied in with the walkway and landscaping plans. The fire exit stairs in the middle of the addition do have a specific requirement for exiting, which results in a split exit path with stairs, as you can see here outside of the addition. The wood grain tile clad architectural fins are 2 foot 8 inch in depth, and the exit stairs are designed around these fins and still maintain a 10-foot wide front sidewalk width and leaves additional room for plantings below the stairs. The area below the stairs will be screened with a concrete wall and a landscape planter, as you can see on this rendering. DRC also asked the applicant to consider reducing the height and size of this addition. Target did review the square footage and the cubic capacity of the addition and determined that This was the minimum size that would be required in order to avoid having an offsite warehouse facility or storage. So Target did, however, reduce the building height by 1 foot through modification of roof and framing details. And the proposed height of the addition is now 32 feet. Initially, it was 33. And the cornice will be painted a lighter color to visually reduce the height. As you can see, the difference from the previous design to the new design. The existing building height does vary from 29 to 37 feet. So considering that, it's still a lot lower. It's at 32 feet. The Design Review Commission also questioned why the left half of the addition needed to be elevated above grade, which again, you could see in that previous design. Target reevaluated the initial plan, and it was determined that the addition does not need to be elevated and could be placed on a standard footing without compromising the necessary ventilation and air exchange from the lower level parking garage. The proposed addition now incorporates this typical footing, which will better integrate the addition to the existing structure, utilizing the similar materials as the existing building. And then the existing corridor and stairwell within the garage, which can also be seen on this previous design, and also in attachment 2 of the site photographs. There's a photo in there if you would like to see that, but that basically corridor within that garage did provide access to the upper level walkway, but it's going to be removed now as part of this submittal. This change does not impact the required exiting or ventilation needed from the lower level parking garage. If anything, I think it actually enhances the design of the east elevation by the elimination of that stairwell. And then this red cornice tile that was framed by the wood tile and also wraps around to the south corner of the south elevation. It will now, the red tile will now extend all the way down to grade. And let's go to the next slide. And here is the south elevation. Again, the red tile will extend all the way down to grade, as you can see the difference here. This detail adds visual interest and anchors the building better into the landscaping and eliminates that floating appearance, which we saw earlier. Staff supports this change, however, suggests that the applicant consider continuing that wood paneling horizontally across the bottom to fully frame that red tile, which will better integrate this feature into the building design. However, staff is seeking DRC's input on this. And here's the revised landscaping plan. At the last hearing, DRC suggested that the applicant consider an evergreen tree or a columnar tree rather than the flowering cherry trees which were previously proposed, as they appeared very sparse and did very little to accentuate the building architecture. At the last DRC hearing, the applicant submitted a landscaping plan with magnolia and juniper trees. After the last hearing, I apologize. After the last hearing, the applicant submitted directly to staff, which were magnolia and juniper trees. However, the plantings did not soften the building walls, and staff suggested that the applicant select a tree that wasn't as messy as the magnolia and offered a little more shade than the juniper. The applicant then landed on this ginkgo tree as the best choice for this expansion. A total of 16 36-inch sky tower ginkgo trees, 2 per bay, as you can see on this landscaping plan, will be planted, and 2 24-inch Chinese elm trees will be planted along the corner of the south elevation. And the applicant selected these columnar trees as the tree shape accents the building architecture, and their canopies and fall colors will help soften the building walls and enhance the pedestrian walkway. Staff would like DRC to comment on the choice of tree selected, and the applicant is flexible on changing the tree species if it does not satisfy the requirements of DRC. The landscaping plan also reflects new plantings, as you can see all along here, that consists of woody and evergreen shrubs and grasses. And the hardscape will be finished with similar concrete to match the existing walkway on site. DRC also requested that the bioretention basin walls that are visible be further screened or detailed. The basin walls will use board form concrete and will be screened with shrub plantings on all sides, as you can see on this exhibit, and they will not be visible to the public. Again, you can see over here. And staff believes that larger trees will add a sense of maturity to the new landscaping. And the proposed mix of shrubs and plants will beautify this area and enhance the pedestrian walkway. And here is the new location for the bioretention basin. As mentioned earlier, due to the underground PG&E easement near the improvements, the original bioretention basin was moved out of the easement and relocated to the North Main Street side of the parking lot, so to the east side of that from the building. This will result in a loss of 5 additional parking stalls, and it will require work within the drip line of this Chinese elm tree, which will be protected during construction. So it's that existing tree that's in that planter, it will remain. Again, the parking required for this site will not be impacted as there is a surplus of parking stalls, even after the removal of these parking stalls. The arborist report indicates that the tree will be minimally impacted by these proposed improvements. And there are also conditions of approval included in the draft resolution to follow mitigation measures and placement of tree protection fencing during construction to protect this tree as it provides contribution to the North Main Street frontage and it is visible from the right-of-way. At the previous hearing, DRC supported the removal of the 9 redwood trees in front of the store, and I think you can see them on this photograph here. They're in front of the store and they are not considered native trees. They're located in the construction, so shall be removed. Staff supports tree removal. However, the tree drip line encroachment permit to work in the drip line of this Chinese elm tree and the tree removal permit for all of the trees that are listed here will require approval from the DRC as the highest approving body. And staff believes the applicant has addressed all earlier DRC comments, and in comparison to the existing east building elevation that has a more warehouse-like design, the proposed expansion is well designed. And with that, staff recommends that the Design Review Commission approve the proposed stockroom expansion to the existing Target store located at 1871 North Main Street, and also approve the tree removals and tree drip line encroachment permit subject to the conditions of approval in the draft resolution. And with that, I would conclude my presentation and we'll be here for any questions.
All right, thank you, Simmer. Are there any questions of staff?
No.
All right, I don't see any raised hands and I don't hear any no's, so thank you, Simmer. Is the applicant here to give a presentation?
Yes, John Dietrich is here. He doesn't have a presentation, but he's here with his team to answer any questions. So I guess we can let John speak.
Are you there, John?
Yes, I am. Am I okay? I'm unmuted by host at this time.
Oh.
Okay, try that.
There, John. Yeah, we can hear you, John.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners from the Design Review Committee and Simmer, thank you for the opportunity for Target to be in front of you tonight and request approval for final design review approval for the architecture, landscaping, tree removal, and drip line encroachment permit for a 9,897 square foot stockroom expansion on the southeast side of the existing Target store located at 1871 North Main Street. We, together with myself and my team, are here and available to answer any and all of your questions. Again, my name is John Dietrich. I am the project manager from Target Corporation, 1000 Nicollet Mall, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 55403. With me tonight is Jay Richardson from the Architecture. He's available to speak to any and all architectural items. Also, we have Corey Cameron from Kimley Horn and Associates, landscape architect, who has been integral and involved in this plan throughout since the, we brought Corey on subsequent to the January meeting. We had to make a change of our landscape architect due to an illness. So Corey has really stepped in and been able to to the landscape plan. And then we have Noe Tran from PLS Associates as our civil engineer. In terms of our project, I would like to first off thank Simmer for her presentation tonight, and Simmer and her associates in the engineering department have been extremely helpful as we've gone through the project to address and answer the questions that were brought forward to us on the January DRC meeting. We're very pleased with the plan as it has evolved. We have worked extremely hard to integrate the site, the architecture, the landscape, and the civil engineering so that we have a plan that will meet and address the Commission's comments from previous January meeting. The one element I would like to speak to is the trees, the large-scale trees, the ginkgo and the Chinese elms. All of those trees have been removed from the bioretention areas. That was a point of conflict in January. Hence, we redesigned the bioretention areas, replaced the trees so that there is not a conflict between trees and bioretention. And we think this adds much more robust and opportunity for the landscape plant materials to be really grow without restrictions that were previously in there. Based on that, I think the plans really stand on themselves. I think Simmer went through the plans. I would say we're available to address your questions, and we look forward to further discussion.
All right, John, do you want to go right into questions, or did anybody else on your team like to make a comment?
I would prefer if we just go right into questions. I think the plans are pretty solid at this point, and we can address any and all of your questions.
Okay, great. So I don't see anybody, so I'm just going to call out somebody. Joseph, did you have any questions you'd like to start with?
You're muted, Joseph.
I'm muted.
Muted.
All right, Casey, you're on
There you
screen.
go.
How about you?
Sorry about that.
Go ahead, Joseph. I don't have questions. You go ahead.
Yeah, just in a couple of sentences, remind me again of why you need to do this. I believe it's because you need more warehouse space to be able to sort of have online sales and that sort of thing. Again, I just need to know again why this is necessary.
In turn, for the project itself, currently we have a garden center that is there, and that's almost 5,000 square feet. We have been utilizing that for stock and stock elements. That has recently been sold because it is now going to be sold to a bank, so it will be more of a commercial element on the corner, much more in keeping with the zoning and criteria that the city would like to see on Main Street. Two, we have undertaken a number of new initiatives within the Target store. I'm going to say they're ship from store, on-site pickup, drive up delivery. Our stores are acting as hubs for how our guests now shop our stores. The amount of online and product delivery space to allow for drive up and pick up in store, as well as the initiatives that need to go in to make us a 21st century retailer, we need the additional space. Yes, we are removing the garden center. We're adding another 4,000 square feet. If we didn't have that 4,000 square feet, we would have an off-site third-party warehouse somewhere in the city, which would then have additional transportation, truck vehicles between that third party and the store. So we've looked at our capacity, both square footage and cubic, for the stock to support the store. And these are the minimum numbers we need to avoid an off-site third-party warehouse somewhere else throughout the city of Walnut Creek.
Okay. Question number 2 is for the architect. Simmer had a comment about the large red panels on the 2 corners, and she suggested running the wood across the bottom to almost picture frame it. I got to say that when I see those 2 big panels, they look to me like, you know, Godzilla-sized garage doors at this point. And I like the idea of framing them, but I'm thinking that maybe you have an idea. I'm thinking maybe of bringing the concrete up as a base instead of the wood, and just, you know, not as high as it was before, but just kind of a base for that red to sit on. It seems very tall. It seems running the bottom of around it, you're just going to get a picture frame. So I want to see if the architect has any thoughts of a way to shorten that door, ground that piece without maybe the wood going across the bottom.
Yes, hi. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yes, I'm Jay Richardson. I'm with RSP Architects, consultants to Target on this project. And yeah, and I think, actually, I think it's a very good point. I think that bringing the red tile all the way down does make a rather large area of the red tile. And I believe that putting a base at the red tile would make a lot of sense. And I thought that rather than the concrete, I was thinking that using the contrasting phenolic resin wood panel would be a good choice for that. The Fifth Avenue elm. There are 2 wood styles. There's the Madison walnut, which looks very much like a finished walnut, and the other is the Fifth Avenue elm, which is the grayer tone wood. And I believe that gray toned wood at the base of the tile would be very nice. And how far should it come up? Perhaps it could come up as far as the floor line, but I'm open to suggestions on that.
Yeah, it seemed like it almost could be a little lower than the floor line, but I could see putting some kind of a base on there. I'll have to see how the other commissioners feel about that and how they feel about the wood versus more of a solid concrete base. My choice would be concrete, but I'll hear what everybody else says.
Yeah.
That's my only 2 questions.
And I expect the landscaping to grow up and have an effect on that as well.
Okay, great. Carlos, did you have any questions?
Yes, I see a lot of movement on the elevations. I see like a lot of different planes and layering and other things going on. Maybe it's the size of the floor plans I got on my print, but I don't see where that movement happens on the floor plan. So I would like to see if what's the difference between planes there, if there's shadow casting or what's going on, or is it just the same plane and you just change materials linearly, or what's the strategy with the elevation and the floor plan?
All right. Well, there's the main building mass is basically in one plane, but when you get to the corner element that changes to the wood-like paneling, that pops out about 8 inches. And so there would be some shadow line in there. And I think if you look carefully at the rendering, you see some shadow along that. And then along the front, there is a series of projecting pilaster-like elements that are wrapped with the simulated wood panel. And those project out, I believe, 2 feet 8 inches. And so there would be light and shadow affecting those. There would be shadows would be cast from along that face, and I think add some interest and add some three-dimensionality in that way.
What about the ceramic tile? I mean, is it framed? Is it is the wood and the tile on the same plane, or is the tile?
Excuse me. There's about a 6-inch difference between the face of the tile and the face of the simulated wood panel.
On both locations?
Yes, on the front and on the left side.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you very much.
Great. Charles, do you have any questions?
I did. I was just curious on the ginkgo trees, how tall those grow. are they going to start to tower up like the redwoods did, or are they going to stay somewhat like they're rendered?
The ginkgos are they're gonna get about 30 feet max. They're a bit of a slower grower. They're not as fast as some of the other trees out there. They do live for a very long time. They're probably one of the more older species of type of trees. So they will, with the height of the elevation of the building, will be about 30, 32 feet. So what you're seeing in the elevation is probably more of a mature type of ginkgo. Whereas when at install, that's why we're proposing to do the larger box size so that it gives the height at install. But like I said, it's going to take some time for it to grow to that height. But yeah, 30 feet is about the height.
And the size at planting, how tall would they be?
At planting, we're looking at probably 12 feet tall with about 4 to 5 feet wide.
And then how many years till it hits the maturity?
Looking at probably, I'd say about 15 years.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Could I get Mr. Cameron to just introduce himself real quick, just for the record?
Yeah. My name is Corey Cameron. I work with Kimley Horn Associates. I'm a landscape designer with Kimley Horn. We are based in the San Diego office, and we have been working with Target frequently throughout the years on their projects, and have helped come and work with their expansions and help with their buildings.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Casey, did you think of any questions or?
Yes, I did. I do notice that the rhythm of the planting selection doesn't seem to respond to the patterns in the architecture at all, like the fins. And I feel like that's potentially the intent, but I just wanted you to speak a little bit to that, where it transitions between the Muhlenbergia and the other ones. It's more obvious to me in the elevation where you can see the pink of the Muhlenbergia.
Yeah, and I was working with the pattern and the kind of the staircase where that's placed. It disrupts the pattern a little bit. So when I place the Muhlenbergias, the pink clouds over onto the side, and then having them kind of trying to keep a pattern. That's easily adjustable as we kind of move along to kind of create the pattern a little maybe better with the architecture. I could certainly look into that.
Great. That's my only question.
All right, I just had a couple questions. The first is regarding the steps, the fire exit. Can someone describe the materials and especially the railing that we're going to see?
Sure, I can do that. The landing is there's a steel pan with it concrete filled. The steps are steel pan, concrete filled, and I believe there's a slight open riser. No, perhaps not. I think the steel actually turns up on the riser, and then the railings are steel with that's painted to match the other steel on the front of the building.
All right, where I'm going with this question is it's basically your front entry, and I know a fire escape, is just a utilitarian type of staircase. And I'm wondering, was there any thought to maybe upgrading the railing to make it more in keeping with more of a front entry look rather than just your basic steel framing and railing?
Well, I believe it is fairly utilitarian, though it'd be a clean and simple look. We could update that and upgrade that to be slightly more decorative, if that would, make people feel better about it. Be happy to do that.
Okay, my next question, maybe this question is for you, Simmer. Are we addressing the sign tonight? Like there's a sign, the CVS pharmacy over the east elevation. Will that be coming back to sign subcommittee, or will that be approved tonight?
They're existing signs. They'll just be relocated. There's no new signs as part of this submittal.
Okay, so they're just taking them down and putting them back up on the new facade.
Correct.
Okay, that was all the questions I had. So if there's no more questions from the commission at this point, I'm going to open it up to the public.
Yeah,
Uh,
Mr. Chair, we do have Joseph Gorney wants to say a few words here.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to dovetail on both of your comments. What was the idea for the railing at the? It's really an emergency staircase, not so much an entrance. Is it going to match the turquoise one that comes out of the top of the building, or is it going to match the one on the other end of the building where the walkway goes over the parking to Target? What was the design of that railing to be?
It's not to match the turquoise color.
Mhm.
It is to be a darker, much more neutral color now.
And the design of it is to kind of match what's there now.
Yes, that's the intent.
Okay, there's no detail on it, so it's hard to tell.
It's-
And then
yeah,
the second question, the second question dovetails onto Carlos's question on the depth of the tile and the wood. In the last meeting, one of the things we had mentioned was that there was no floor plan that accurately showed the depth of materials, the size of the fins, and we specifically asked for that, and we still don't have it. So we're sort of still imagining this ginormous elevation and what it's really going to look like. So I'm trying to figure out. It sounds like the tile material is going to be like on the right on the building, so it's flush, and then the wood comes out another 6 inches from that. Is that what
Yes.
I'm understanding?
Yeah, there is a wall section that I believe shows that difference in plane.
Oh, that's the wall section 2. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the red ceramic tile is back. So is there any way that that wood could come out more than 6 inches? I mean, it seems kind of, thin for such a large building. I mean, I don't want to come too far with it, but with all the other ins and outs, as Carlos said on the elevations, 6 inches just seems a little it's thin, if I must use a word, thin.
Mhm. It would just involve using deeper framing members, deeper
Mhm.
stud, to bring it out further.
And if you did the wood material on the base of the you talked about using the other wood, the Madison walnut. Would that be in the same plane as the other wood? I'm trying to understand both these woods. I'm only seeing one on the drawing. It says Madison walnut and Madison walnut. I'm looking at the elevation. I'm only seeing one wood called out.
The walnut is the darker one, and then there's a lighter gray one, and it's
Thunder.
back by the windows.
Fifth Avenue, Elm. Okay,
Fifth
cool.
Avenue
So
Elm.
would that be in the same plane as the other wood, or would it come out from that further?
No, I would think that the Fifth Avenue elm below the red tile would be close to the plane of the red tile.
Okay, so
And
the red
that
tile. Oh, so you wouldn't run it all the way across the length of that building. You would just have it just underneath where the red tile is.
Correct.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
And if I may add, the existing turquoise stairs that are on the fire escape by the entry to the underground garage, that those will be painted, a darker charcoal color, so that all of the metal materials will be of a similar darker gray, steel gray color, and the turquoise light fixtures will also be repainted to that darker steel gray color as well.
Got it.
Okay, with that, I'm going to open it up to the public. Again, if you'd like to join, the ID number is 917-5759-1079, and the password is 210338. So if you'd like to join and ask some questions or make some comments, now's your chance. And I guess Ken will rely on you to see if anybody joins us.
Yeah, we'll wait just a couple of seconds and we'll see if Christine has anyone wishing to join us here. And it does not look like anyone wants to opine. So, Mr. Chair, I will mention that Simmer has a material color board with her tonight. If you are interested in taking a look at that.
Those are the two colors. The two. I don't know if it's coming out clear. I'm trying.
Yeah, it's red, all right.
It's not working.
Well, with the virtual background, it's sort of going in and out of being able to.
Oh yeah. Do you see it like if I have it like this?
Take your
Yeah.
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 So those are the two. The darker is the one that'll extend around the south elevation, and that lighter wood is what will be used for those panels on the bottom, like the base of the expansion. And the fins, I think, is going to be the darker, right? Correct.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Okay, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing at this point and bring it back to the commission for our comments. Would anybody like to start? Charles, how about you?
Oh, sure. So interestingly enough, so I'm coming into this project midstream. So the first hearings happened before I joined DRC. But interestingly enough, this is one of the ones I studied as I was learning what the DRC did and how they operated. And my impression of the first set was they were pretty good. And this is a really good improvement. And I like how this is going to look. So I would say, notwithstanding, I think the other commissioners had some really good questions tonight for you guys to follow up with. But overall, I do really like where this is going. I like the ginkgo trees with the color tone. I like the fact that they're not going to tower up over the building like the redwoods. So I think that's actually a positive to remove and replace those. And I think just overall, and we're frequent users of this target before the COVID, kind of making it harder to go out. I think you guys have done a really, really nice job, and overall, I support this.
All right, Casey.
I think it's an improvement from what we saw last time. I think that it looks pretty good. In regards to Joseph's comment about the red tile, I did notice that. It did feel like it was a very strong presence on the building. So I do think that needs to be looked at. I don't have a strong opinion on the particular solution, but one thing I wouldn't want to see is something that makes it look too much like a square. I do think I like the rectangular proportions of it because that seems to fit with the building. So I want to make sure that whatever base was on it didn't make it look like Joseph said, a picture frame. I'd be sensitive to that. But I think the ginkgos are nice. I don't have any issue with the drip line encroachment permit. So I think that's good. Thank you.
Good. Carlos?
I don't see this addition making a major impact over the existing building. I think it's a good addition. It's not going to create any problems with the actual looks or the volumes or the massing of the existing building. I think the landscaping itself, and you're the landscapers, and I get a lot of this from you. I think this is going to be a major improvement. Architecture is fine. It's additional. It's functional. They're doing their best to mask this additional volume. So again, it's not creating a major impact over what we have right now. Landscape looks pretty good.
Okay, Joseph?
I don't know. Last time we looked at it, this is the reason I asked about why we have to do it, because in reality, whenever I go to that parking lot and I imagine this building there, it seems really overscaled to me. And personally, I don't care whether they have to get another warehouse space in town if this doesn't work. And so that's why I had to ask the question. But I also understand, competing against Amazon and other big retailers and how having more storage on site is critical to the operation. So in that case, and again, it's a very large building pushed right up pretty close to the parking lot. And so I think that the landscaping is a critical part of it. And so, with those caveats, I'm pretty much ready to be able to support it. However, the corner, I think that a 6-inch piece sticking out, it just seems like wallpaper to me. And I just don't think it's enough. I think that needs to be at least a foot, if not a little more. But then, of course, we're getting into the landscape area when we do that. But I think when you look at all the other parts of the building, there's real depth on those materials. So I think at least a foot on the wood would be important to me. And I think the base has to match what's on the rest of the building. Everywhere else on the building, where the wood comes down, I believe it's a split face block on the bottom of the building. It doesn't really have to be split face, but everywhere the wood is on the other part of the building, it comes down and it hits kind of a masonry base. So I think it has to, for me to support it, it would have to be a masonry base of some sort to match the rest of the building. I don't think it has to come up to the full height of the floor. I think it could be down a little bit lower than that, but I think there's a correct proportion that would work. I don't agree that just doing the wood like that with 6 inches of reveal is going to look good at all. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. I had a couple, two on the building. I agree with Casey's comment about the picture framing on the red. I don't like that idea where it's just on all 4 signs. I would like to have some other design, but what that is, I don't know, and I'm not that strong about it. I would like to see that. I was hoping on the railing on that fire staircase, maybe just the post or something, bring in some of the same wood elements, not that the whole staircase has to be a fancy element, but there could be some, instead of just being a wrought iron railing or whatever, bring it up a little bit. The other concern I have is I'd like to put it actually in the condition. We didn't talk about it, but the bio retention area out by Main Street on the main street, I don't have any problem with it, except for these things have been around about 5 years. And other than that, what is it, the church out on Ignacio, that's the only one who seems to really maintain it, and it looks good after a couple of years. Most of them are neglected, and the plants end up being a weed pit. So my concern is with this being right out on the major sidewalk along Main Street, I don't know if there's some condition to say on a yearly review or something to make sure that it's maintained, or the plants that are died out are being replaced. So again, we just don't have a pit out there that, in my experience, is what I'm seeing most of these bioretention areas turn into. And then I'd just like to make one comment. John, at the beginning, was saying about he had removed all the trees from the bioretention areas. And I think that's probably coming from me over the years. I've always questioned people putting trees in bioswales. It's not that you can't. They are allowed in the bioswales, but you have to design it for it. You have to have some sort of a boxing system, if you will, where you go down through the gravel and you can support it. And of course, your calculations have to be done with the civil. So it's not that you can't put trees in bioretention areas, but you have to design for it. And that's what I keep asking for. So I didn't want it misunderstood that you can't have trees in bioswales. Having said that, I'm ready to move this forward. I think there's, I think we could make it conditions and for staffs, but I think they've done a good job. And I don't necessarily think we need to bring it back unless I hear some differing opinions from the rest of the commission. And with that, I'd like to find out, maybe someone could put together a motion.
I want to see if anybody agrees on the base to the corner. I seem to be the only person that has that opinion. And Brian, I have to ask you a question on this railing you're talking about. As it is a emergency exit only, do you think adding too much detail would call attention to it, or do you want to just make it something subtle just to make it a better design feature?
Just subtle. Maybe just the post or some wood element or something. Again, I don't want to call attention to it, but when I look at the elevation, we have all this massing and the color, and then we have this very utilitarian thing stuck right in the middle. So I'd like to just upgrade it a little bit.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the project, subject to the following conditions: that the emergency exit railing is upgraded in some way, and I believe we should have probably a small subcommittee to review this when it comes back. That if there's a standard condition from the city about bioswales being reviewed to make sure the planting is good after a year or two, I'd like to add that in if it's not a standard condition already. And I have heard no feedback on it, but I'm gonna put in a condition that the corner of the building where the red tile has a base of a masonry or some kind of stucco or masonry material to match what's on the rest of the building, up to a height that's not as high as the floor level of the building, but has some depth to it, and that the wood feature is at least 12 inches deep from the red behind it, and that basically we review that quickly at a subcommittee.
All right. Do we have a second on that motion? I will second that. All right. Ken, can we have a roll call, please?
Okay, Commissioner Gorney,
Yes.
Commissioner Killian,
Yes.
Vice Chair Case,
Yes.
Commissioner Valia,
Yes.
and Commissioner Krelling.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Thank you, Target team. Good luck. And I guess there'll be a few items coming back for staff, but other than that, you're on your way.
We appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Simmer will be in touch, and we'll get the subcommittee together. What we'll do is we'll assign the two members before we cut out of the meeting tonight, and stay in touch with Simmer on that, and we'll get that organized for you. Okay.
Okay, moving on. We're going on to item. Do we have any, Ken?
There are none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll go to item number 6, which is commission member and staff reports or announcements.
Nothing from me.
Nothing
All
from
right.
any of the other commissioners. Go ahead and jump in if you have anything. Joseph, did you want to say something?
Well, I know you're going to mention it, but weren't we supposed to get an update from the city on some new state law today? I thought it was today.
Not today. Let's see. We've got that scheduled for July 1st.
Okay, thank you.
So keep that in mind. That's going to be an update on again on state housing laws, and also Senate Bill 330 and objective design standards. So we'll be talking about that. So thanks for the reminder, Joseph. Let's see, I've got a couple of things I wanted to throw out just for your information. There will be a council meeting this Thursday from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And the council will be discussing reopening of business strategies. So I don't know if you wanted to look in on that meeting. It's going to include some discussions of the use of the city's right-of-way, sidewalks, private parking lots, and on-street parking areas that will allow for social distancing for restaurants and retailers throughout the entire city to use in assistance with their business reopening. So council meeting that they will be discussing that this Thursday. I guess that's tomorrow, isn't it? Tomorrow from 1 to 4. Let's see, I did want to mention our next meeting has been canceled. just due to lack of items, that's June 3rd. We will hold a sign subcommittee meeting that evening. However, at 6 o'clock, so we will be in touch with the sign subcommittee members on getting that arranged. So be aware of that.
And that's Charles and Joseph, or Carlos and Brian, or
Wasn't that Brian and Brian?
Yeah. So far, it'll be Carlos and Brian's, and we can certainly talk about changing out members at any point.
Carlos as in Charles, right?
You learn a lot from sign subcommittee.
You sure do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't want to, without thinking about it a little bit, overcommit, because I also have my county board that I chair.
come on, this is more important than the county one, isn't it, Charles?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can continue this conversation later.
All right. Good.
All right.
I will mention, there's one other item I will mention that you're somewhat familiar, as there was a presentation given by the assistant city manager a while back. The Golden Triangle partnership is going to be filing for a master sign program, including skyline signs, probably by the end of this week. So that will be coming to the Design Review Commission at some point in the near future, just to let you know that will be coming.
That will not go to sign subcommittee first for review. Just it's going to come straight to us, I believe, right?
You know,
Seems right to come to us. It's a big one.
Well, I mean, we could do it either way.
Personally, I think full commission. I think it's just too important an issue. So I would say full commission first.
Yeah,
I agree. I would like everyone to take a look at that. Yeah.
Right. That will be a request for kind of a different direction than the city has gone in the past, but the sign ordinance does allow for the commission to approve signs higher than 25 feet from grade. So there is a provision that would allow the Design Review Commission to make that call without having to consider an exception to the sign ordinance. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
So that's all that I had.
Okay. With that, then this meeting is adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good night.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Well, be safe, everyone.